Welcome back. In this video, we are going to learn how to automate infrastructure setup in Azure Cloud using Terraform and Azure DevOps pipeline. Let's say that you're working in a team, you are in the process of migrating from on-premises into cloud, especially Azure Cloud. Now you are in the process of setting up the entire infrastructure in Azure Cloud. So what are the best ways in order to set up infrastructure in Azure Cloud? Of course, you can use Terraform. So Terraform is one of the popular infrastructure automation tools. Using Terraform, you can pretty much set up infrastructure on any cloud platform. Okay, but let's say you are using Terraform and you are creating Terraform files for setting up infrastructure in Azure Cloud. How are you going to automate that? Okay, so for example, let's say that you have committed Terraform files in your repos, your SCM tool. How are you going to automate that infrastructure setup? Instead of executing Terraform commands through manually, right? So that's exactly what we are going to talk about in this video. So if you look at this diagram, so let's say this is you are committing your Terraform files in your SCM tool. So I have picked up Azure repos as a SCM tool, but let's say you're using GitHub or Bitbucket. Yes, you can also use those tools as well. And then we are going to create Azure DevOps pipeline. Okay, so I have already created, this is my Azure DevOps organization. And then again, right, so I'm going to create a pipeline over here. Okay. And then whenever we are going to create a pipeline, so the pipeline, what we are going to create, we are going to install a Terraform on that build agent. So we will talk about that in a minute, how we are going to achieve that. And then if you actually see here, since we are writing, Terraform, since we are using Terraform, we will have to use remote state information, right? Meaning we must store state information remotely. So for that, we are going to use Azure blob storage. Okay. So we are going to create Azure storage account, and then we are going to create a container. That is where we are going to store our Terraform state information. Okay. And then what are the resources we are going to create? So we are going to create a web app. Okay. So in order to create a web app, you need to have a service plan. And then of course, any resources you are creating, you need to, have a resource group. So basically we will create a resource group, and then we will create app service plan, and then we will create web app. Okay. So yeah, so basically it's a very simple use case, right? So we are going to create Azure DevOps pipeline that is going to automate infrastructure setup in Azure Cloud. So that's exactly what we are going to do. Awesome. So let's go back to over here. Let's just talk about prerequisite and then the implementation steps. So yes, we need to have Azure subscription. Okay. So this is my Azure subscription. Okay. So I do have pay as you go. But again, if you are having, let's say you are having, a free trial, of course, you can also use that as well. Not a problem. And then Azure DevOps organization and then project. So this is my Azure DevOps organization. I also have created a project dashboard here. Okay. So this is where we are going to, manage our source code, which are nothing but Terraform files. And then this is where we are going to create a CI/CD pipeline. Okay. And then we need to have a Terraform build and release task extension in Azure DevOps. So what do I mean by that is, so you click on this particular link here. Since Azure DevOps pipeline is going to use Terraform, right? So what you can do is, you can install this particular add-ons. I have already installed this add-on in my Azure DevOps organization. So, it is very good if you have this plugin installed so that you can easily add Terraform task, in your pipeline. Okay, so that is something we need to have. And then Terraform files already created in SCM. So, our use cases, we are going to create a web app. Okay, we are going to create a web app. So you can see the code here, right? So I have written Terraform files already. So all this is going to do is this is actually going to create a resource group, and then it's going to create app service plan, and then we are going to create a web app, right? So we are going to create Java based web app. Okay, so that's all we are going to create. Okay, and then of course, if you look at the Terraform files, I also have a variables .tf file where the resource group name and then location is defined, and then this is my terraform.tf war file where I'm kind of declaring those variables, and then I'm going to use we are going to use remote storage, right? So it is not recommended to use local state information, right? So you should not use local state. You have to go for something called remote state. So we are going to use a backend as Azure RM, and then like I said, we are going to use Azure storage account, and then we are going to use container. So that is where we are going to store our Terraform state. That is where we are going to use Terraform state information. Okay, and then this is my Azure provider. Okay, so you can see here, if I take you to Terraform website, go to browse provider, if you click on Azure. So if you see here, the latest provider is 3.72.0, but I just used like a little bit older version, kind of a stable provider version. Okay, 3.70.0. All right, so yeah, so that's about Terraform files. Very simple use case. We are going to create a web app, and then in order to create the web app, we need to have app service plan, and then of course we need to have a resource group as well. So that is where all the resources will be created. Okay, perfect. And then how are we going to achieve this, right? So yes, let's create a resource group because we need to have a storage account and then container in order to store a remote state information. So I'm going to create a resource group, and then we are going to store all those information over here. And then we need to create a pipeline. Okay, so we need to create a pipeline in Azure DevOps, and then we have to add Terraform tasks. Okay, and then we are going to go ahead and then execute our pipeline to create resources. Like I said, we are going to create app service plan and then web app, and then we will verify whether the resources got created in Azure cloud or not. And then most importantly, once the resources are created in Azure cloud, we will verify whether our terraform.tf state file got updated in the Azure storage account, and then we will perform some cleanup activity, okay, in order to clean up all the resources whatever we have created. Okay, all right guys, so let's get started now. So guys, this is my website, coachdevops.com. I will be posting the link right below the video as well. So let's look at the first step. So we need to create a resource group. Okay, but what I have done already, I have already created a resource group here. Okay, but again, if you want to create a new resource group, it's very straightforward. You can click on resource group, and then you can create a new resource group. But I have already created that. So I'm going to use this particular resource group. Okay, so very good. And then we need to go ahead and then create a storage account. Okay, so like I said, this is where we are going to store our Terraform state information. Okay, so how do you create that? Let me go to resource group and click on create. And then I'm going to search for storage account. There you go. And click on storage account. So we are going to create the storage account. Okay, so let me give some name. So what I wanted to do, if you actually look at the backend.tf file, so this file already has all the information, right? Like, what is the storage account name, and then what is the container name. So let's be consistent. So let me copy the storage account name from here. So make sure that, you have unique storage account name. Otherwise that's not going to work. So let me make sure this is unique. For example, if you just give my TF storage, I don't think, see here, this is not available. Okay, all right, so let me use this one, and then let me check the location. So yeah, let's go ahead with South Central. I think this is different. Okay, no, I think this is different. This is like what location we are going to use, but again, not a problem. So let's go with this location. Okay, very good. All right, so let me go ahead and then create the storage account. And yeah, so this is fine. I don't need to have a premium one. Okay, this is just for general purposes, right? So this is fine. And then redundancy, I think this is totally fine. Locally redundant storage, that's totally fine. All right, awesome. So let's go ahead and then create the storage account. Awesome. So the storage account is being created right now. Let me go back to my instructions, and then we need to go ahead and create a container inside the storage account, because this is where we are going to store Terraform state information. So let me go back to my portal here. It is still creating. Awesome. So click on go to resource. So go to containers. So let's start creating a new container. That's the container name. Perfect. So that's the container name, and click on create. Very good. And then, whenever Terraform is going to update the state information, and then this is going to use this particular file. So this is the file where, that state information will be stored. Perfect. I think we are good there. And then let me move forward. Now I think we can go ahead and then get started on creating a pipeline. So basically, again, right, let me go back to this diagram. We have already created Terraform files in Azure repos. Okay, and then we also created Azure storage account and then container. So that is also there. All we have to do is create a Azure DevOps pipeline that is going to check out from here, and then it's going to start executing a Terraform commands in order to create those resources in Azure cloud. Okay, great. So let's start creating the pipeline. All right, so how do you do that? Go to pipeline section. So basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to go with the classic pipeline for now. Okay, I know this may not be a recommended solution usually at work, but again, right, so this is just for demo purpose. If you're new to Azure DevOps, or if you're new to Terraform, so this is a great opportunity for you to learn how to automate infrastructure setup using classic pipeline. Maybe in upcoming videos, we will talk about how we can create AML pipeline in order to automate that. All right, so let me click on new pipeline. Okay, let's click on classic editor. Okay, and of course we have our repo, so that is our repository name. Click on continue. Okay, so let's start with the empty job. Okay, so that's fine. I don't think there are any Terraform templates available in Azure DevOps. So let's go ahead and then create an empty job. So that's fine. Okay. And then let me see here. Let's start using Azure pipeline here, and let's use Ubuntu latest as a build agent. I don't want to use Windows agent because that may slow down the performance. So let's go with the Ubuntu. That's totally fine. Now all we have to do is start adding tasks. So one of the prerequisites is we need to add a Terraform task. So I have already added that. See here, I have already added the task. Okay, so I don't have to add. So let's start adding the task, right? So click on this one. So look for Terraform. So what we have to do is we need to first install Terraform on the build agent. Okay, because the build is going to run on an agent, right? So we have to install Terraform. So click on add. So this is fine. So this will take care of installing Terraform on the build agent. Let me also go ahead and then name my pipeline. So I'm going to say my awesome infra pipeline job. Okay, I'm just going to save it. I'm not going to queue it. Very good. So let's go ahead and then add another task as well. Let me also again search for Terraform, and what we have to do is we have to initialize Terraform. So let me add this particular task, execute Terraform commands to manage resources on Azure RM or AWS or Google Cloud. So let me add that one. There you go. Okay, and then this is our provider, right? Because we are going to create in Azure resources in Azure cloud. So we have to select that one. So we are going to start with the initialize. Okay, let's go with that. And then we have to select our Azure subscription. So let me select that one. Okay, and then the resource group. Okay, so if you guys remember, I have already created a resource group, my RG, and then we have already created our storage account. So if you are wondering, so this is that one, right? This is a storage account. Okay, that is actually part of my RG. And then we also created our container as well. So let's select our container, and then of course our key, that is actually nothing but terraform.tf state. Perfect. So very good, right? I think this is good for now. Okay, so why don't we do one thing before we go too far? Why don't we start executing this, right? So but before that, let me just change this to init. Okay, so why don't we save and queue? And again, you can select Ubuntu latest, click on save and run. So there you go. So it is in the process of executing the pipeline task. So let's see the build output here. So Terraform has been successfully initialized, and then before that, Terraform also got installed on the build agent as well. Wonderful. Okay, so far so good. Let me edit my classic pipeline. So now we have to add a few more tasks. Okay, so obviously, right, if you're familiar with Terraform, you have to initialize first, and then if you want to validate, you can also validate that as well. And then we have to execute Terraform plan and then Terraform apply. Okay, so click on the plus. So let me look for Terraform, and then let's start adding a task. So let me use Terraform CI command. Okay, and for validation, this is actually good enough. Terraform validate. Okay, I think that should take care of it. And then let me also go ahead and then add Terraform plan. So let me copy this, and then I'm going to say plan. Okay, so we just need to select our Azure subscription. There you go. I think this is the correct one. Wonderful. Okay, so before we go too far, let me click on save and queue. Wow, see here guys. So this is telling us that this is going to create 3 resources. So one of them is obviously resource group, and then app service plan, and then this will also go ahead and then create web app. Perfect, right? So far so good. Everything is working fine. All we have to do is go ahead and then add a task for Terraform apply. So let me again look for Terraform and select this particular task, and then go to the drop down and then make changes here, apply, and then I'm going to select apply from the drop down. Wonderful. And then select the Azure subscription. So there you go, right? So this should take care of applying. So one more thing, right? So let's say you're performing Terraform plan. If you want to write the output to a plan file, you can also do that over here as well, but I'm not doing it. But this is just a basic demo. So let me click on save and queue. Click on save and run. Okay, so plan has been already executed. So right now in the process of performing apply. There you go. So it is in the process of creating a resource group. So it is going to create resource group with this name, and you can see that over here, right? If I take you guys to my repo, so you can see that over here, right? So it's going to create this resource group name, and then of course going to create these 3 resources. All right, so you can see that over here it was able to create 3 resources successfully. Okay, of course there are some warnings and all, but I think don't worry about it. You can take a look at the code and then you can fix it, or you can perform Google search if you don't know the fix. Awesome. So let's verify that, right? Let's go to Azure portal. Let me click on refresh. Okay, so go to resource groups. There you go, guys. So this was the resource group which got created using Terraform, and then there you go. So we were able to create the service plan and then app service. So click on the app service. So if you want to make sure that this app service is working fine, of course this is Java based, so you can click on the URL. Wow, there you go guys, you see it. So this confirms that our app service is working fine. Why don't we quickly verify our Terraform state information as well? So we have already verified that all the resources got created, but why don't we verify whether our Terraform state information got updated or not? So let me click on the storage account and then click on containers, and then this is the container name. Click on it. There you go. So this is the terraform.tf state file, and then you can see here that the file got modified, and you can see that 439 like a couple of minutes ago. So click on the Terraform state file. There you go. And then of course you can click on edit. Guys, don't try to mess up the Terraform state file. The last thing you want to do is modify this particular file. Okay, so you should not modify, but you can see right now the terraform.tf state file got updated, and you can see here under resources section you can see app service. You can also see, let's see, right, you would be seeing app service plan. There you go, app service plan, right? And then of course resource group, right? So yeah, so everything is there. Okay, so let's do one thing, right? Let's go back to our pipeline. Why don't we try to destroy? Okay, so you have two options, right? You can modify the current task, or you can add a new task if you wanted to, right? So let me disable this one for now. Let me add a new task. Let me look for Terraform and add this one. Okay, and then I'm going to say Terraform destroy, and then in the drop down I'm going to go ahead and then select destroy. Okay, and then select the subscription. So that's it, right? That's it. So apply got disabled. So now if I go ahead and then click on save and queue, so right now the pipeline should be able to execute Terraform task, and then we should be able to destroy all the three resources what we have created out of Terraform. Okay, so as you can see here, it is in the process of performing destroy. There you go guys, see here, currently it is in the process of destroying app service, and then finally of course the resource group. Wow, so this has completed. So let's verify that in Azure portal. Of course, before we come back here, right, let's just make sure that all the resources got deleted. So there you go, I don't see that resource group out here, right? Everything got deleted. And then of course if you wanted to see the storage container, and then click on container. If you want to just check the terraform.tf state file, there you go, click on edit. Wow, see here guys, so you don't see much in the terraform.tf state file. All right, so yeah, so that's it guys. That's how you can automate infrastructure setup in Azure cloud using Terraform and Azure DevOps pipeline. Thank you for watching this video.